Hey y'all, I'm Jen, and this is Sassy Southern NC Girl, and I kind of wanted to talk about what the government shutdown taught me. It's been a little over 2 weeks since the government shutdown ended, and it's been a little over a week since I finally got my back pay, and now I'm back on my regular schedule for getting paid. But I wanted to wrap it up with like an overall, like my overall view of how it happened in my eyes. Just to kind of finish it, because I did a couple of different videos during the shutdown, and I don't know, I felt like this was a fitting way to kind of wrap it up, and I'm giving you this to look at because I have notes and I don't want to forget anything, and I didn't want to show myself because I've been cleaning all day and stuff, but the government shutdown really opened my eyes in ways I wasn't fully prepared for. It didn't just interrupt my paycheck. It interrupted my peace, my stability, and my sense of security. It really forced me into a place that I never wanted to be, and honestly never saw myself in at this point that I'm in my life. The first thing I learned is that I wasn't financially prepared, not because I'm irresponsible with my money, but because life is expensive, unpredictable, and unforgiving. And honestly, my credit took a hit because of it. And that was a painful, discouraging, and honestly humiliating experience. I learned how fast life can spiral when your income stops, but your responsibilities don't. And watching my credit fall apart because I couldn't pay my bills and feeling powerless while everything that I've worked really hard for slipped through my fingers is something that I don't ever want to experience again. And so I've been making steps to correct that error because that was a terrible place to be in, and I don't ever want to be in that again. And I'm exploring my options as to what I can do because of the circumstances, but I don't know if that's going to be enough or if it's just going to have to, be me working hard again to fix it. But, it was rough. And I know that people are going through, so many things, and that my situation isn't unique. There were hundreds of thousands of other people going through the exact same thing, but maybe they're not talking about it. And I just feel like I kind of need to get it out so that I can let it go and move on. Because honestly, it was pretty devastating. But it was also incredibly stressful and emotionally draining. The uncertainty, the pressure, and that feeling of falling behind took a really heavy toll on me mentally. Even though there was nothing I could do about it, that was all I was thinking about was, oh my gosh, this is out of my control, but I can't stop thinking about it. Like, I was dreaming about it. I was thinking about it when I was awake. It was something that I just could not, even though I was praying about it, I was trying to let it go. I was trying to let God handle it. Like, mentally, I just could not clear it out of my mind. And I learned that what it feels like to carry stress so heavy, it's like sits in your chest. It's like a ton of bricks sitting on your chest. It's like if you've ever had a panic attack, it's kind of like that. Like, it's just that heavy, heavy feeling like you can't breathe, you're suffocating. And I learned, what it felt like to cry out in frustration and not in weakness, like just being so angry and so, because it was out of my control. It was not something I could change. It wasn't something that if I did this or if I did that, it would get better. It was completely out of my control. and I think that was the worst part of it. I learned that even the strongest people break when the world refuses to give them a break. We had people here who couldn't pay their electricity and the power company wasn't working with us. And I don't have this issue, but this was like my friends and my coworkers. And so they had to worry about whether they were going to have electricity or not. And eventually the power company like got on board with what was happening, but it took like intervention from like the higher ups in the military to get them to do that. Like it's just crazy to me that people think, oh, well, when the government shuts down, just the people that work for the government aren't getting paid, but like think about all the people in the community that rely on the money that we bring in to them. Like people getting their nails done. Nobody was getting their nails done. Nobody was getting their hair done because they were worried about whether they were going to be able to put food on the table and have electricity. So like all those things that people normally took for granted, they were having to, save every penny that they had because we didn't know how long this was going to go on. And it was also a very lonely feeling, even though a lot of other people were going through it. I learned who cared enough to check in on me and who didn't. Silence from people that you expect support from can hurt more than anything. It's one of the loneliest feelings I've ever felt, even when we were at our first duty station and I had left North Carolina for the first time. And I was just scared and missing home and, didn't know how I was going to deal with it. This was even worse than that. It was honestly one of the loneliest feelings I've ever felt when I was struggling through this and nobody asked if I was okay. Like, nobody. That was a really hard realization to come to terms with. That the people closest to me didn't give a rip, basically. Yeah. I'm not going to talk about that a whole lot because I'm really trying to let that go and not get upset about it because it's over and done with. But that was probably the hardest thing for me, was that just nobody cared. But on the flip side, I learned how strong I really am. Even on days when I was super overwhelmed, I still showed up to work. I still fought. I fought for my son to be able to play sports during the shutdown. I still tried to do what I could do. I offered help to anybody I could help. I learned how to survive on grit, prayer, and pure determination, because honestly, some days I just didn't want to get out of bed. And I learned that even when everything felt hopeless, I was tough enough to keep myself going by leaning on God and, just my pure inner hard-headedness, for lack of, of a better word. I've always been super hard-headed, and I just refuse to lay down. But I did discover the importance of giving myself grace. I kind of had to stop blaming myself for what I did or didn't do. None of this was my fault. And I had to learn to stop blaming myself for things that were outside of my control. I learned that asking people for help is not a weakness, it's survival. I did take advantage of some of the free food stuff that they gave out, and other things, because I didn't have a choice. But that doesn't make me weak. Honestly, I feel like that makes me strong and smart, because you do what you have to do when you have to survive. But also I learned that, I deserve better. I deserve better from the government. I deserve better from my workplace and from the systems that are supposed to support us. The situation that we were in should have never happened. It should have never got to that point. I was also reminded that storms don't last forever. Even when it felt endless, it eventually broke. And maybe the biggest lesson I learned of all is that that moment, those weeks where, I was struggling, those moments didn't define me, but what I choose to do next will. Like, taking what I learned from this situation and, making the changes that I need to make to where I never have to be in this situation again, that's going to define me. And if I end up in the same spot that I was in this last time, the next time this happens, I mean, God willing, it won't. But if it does, if I end up in that same situation, then I didn't learn anything, right? And of course, you may or may not know, because if I don't tell you, how are you going to know? But I am determined to make the necessary changes that I need to make so that I never end up in that situation again, all the way around. So if you dealt with any implications of the shutdown, or maybe you just care about how I feel, and you're watching this, like, just know that I appreciate you. I do appreciate those of you that don't know me and still check, you gave me encouraging comments. You helped me get through it, whether you know it or not. All the kind comments and different things behind the scenes really and truly helped me get through it. And if I didn't have YouTube and my crafting to take my mind off of things, I think it would have been much worse on me mentally than what it was. And so I am eternally grateful to you all for that. So thank you from the bottom of my heart, just for being there and watching my videos and liking my videos and commenting, and being kind, because it truly did make a difference in my life during a really hard time. So I will see you guys in the next one. Keep it sassy. Bye, y'all.